Today's video, we're going to be installing an angle kit on the 240. Now, the angle kit that I went with is the Villians angle kit. So I'll quickly explain what it is and all about all that jazz, just for those of you who don't know what it is. For those of you who don't know what a Villians angle kit is, it's essentially your stock suspension that is just modified. So what I mean by that is you send them your stock lower control arms and your knuckles, and they cut and extend your lower control arms and cut and shorten your knuckles. If you don't have any and you just bought a shell and it's a non-rolling shell, you could buy it from them, buy lower control arms and knuckles, but it's a little bit more expensive. Also, if it's your daily driver and you can't really take parts off because you need to drive it every day, you could also buy that kit, so you could just swap it out instead of having to take your car apart and having it not being drivable, and then have to wait for them to cut them up and weld them and all that. But I'll quickly explain what comes in the kit. There is a lot of people that do this, and it's probably a little bit cheaper, but this is a whole kit, so it's easier to just pay it once and get it all done, and rather than have to source parts here and there and all that blah blah. So these are factory S13 lower control arms. As you can see right here, they cut them and they weld them 40 millimeters, so that way it pushes the wheel out so it doesn't hit against the frame. This is a stock knuckle, and they just cut the pivot point and shorten it. I don't know exactly how much, but when you shorten this, it allows it to pull it in more, giving you more camber. So this is the main thing that gives you, not camber I should say, more angle. This is the main thing that gives you the angle. This is like the angle kit itself right here, and this is more for camber and clearance. In order to run these lower control arms, since they're longer, you need longer inner tie rods. So these are, I believe, 06 Ultima or Maxima, 06 Maxima inner tie rods, but since they're thicker, you need to run S14 outer tie rods. So what's cool about this kit is that it's pretty much new bushings. You get new tie rods, new bushings here, and you could order new bushings for here, ball joints I should say, but I didn't, and it was just kind of like a mix-up. So I just put those in right now. I haven't put that boot on, but they're ready to go. Now all I have to do is take the front suspension out and install this. These will give me a lot more camber than what I have, which is what I want, because right now, as you can see, my top hats are maxed negative camber, and for some reason it's like negative half a degree of camber, which is not what I want. So I was originally going to get just extended lower control arms just to get the front camber, but I was like, that's going to cost me right around the same as the angle kit, so it's better to just get the angle kit. Also, I did a trade for this for some wheels with my friend, so that kind of all just worked out. So now we're going to be getting rid of this fitment. Front end torn apart. I did a little time lapse, but one thing I quickly want to mention is to take out the inner tie rods. I know at AutoZone and most auto parts store they rent this tool that's like a big, it's like a cone, and it has different adjustments, and you slip that on right here. This is what threads into your rack. This is the outer tie rod. So it goes on there, somehow it like grabs it, and then you get a big breaker bar, and from out here, like outside the car, you crank it down and you loosen that. But since this whole quarantine thing going on, you know, the whole coronavirus thing, I opted it'd be best to just stay home and try to figure something out rather than going out. So what I ended up doing is I got the jack and I just used this little adjustable, I don't even want to say the name because I know I'm going to say it wrong. I think it's an adjustable wrench. I don't think that's the correct name, but whatever. You put that on here, right around like that, and then you just jack it up. This is right there on the jack, so it's kind of fighting against the weight of the car, so it's way weaker than the actual car weight, if that makes sense. So you're gonna break that loose before the car actually gets jacked up. I know Tom also told me that. Alright, so I know it's a little windy, so I'm sorry about the wind noise, but I got it all masked off. It's all good to go. Now, one thing I quickly want to mention is with this little lip right here, I told you guys I was going to cut it and hammer it up. The reason for folding this up is when you're at full lock and the wheel is turned in here, it's usually because you're going forward and it's going to be going, in a sense, this way, at full lock, meaning the tire's gonna come from the bottom towards the top. So if this is rolled up, all it's gonna do, if it does contact it, is just kind of glide against it, or glide just on it. It could bend it back, or it could even slice into the tire, which is no good. Now I know a lot of people are gonna be like saying, so when you fold this up and you're backing up, it's gonna do the same exact thing. Yes and no. Yes, that could happen, but think about it. You're never gonna be going in reverse at full lock. So that's the way I think of it. So I'm gonna be hammering this up and not down. And that's my theory on that. All right, so I got it all clean. Now I'm going to be spraying this with bed liner. Now the 240 is from factory. I already have, you can see right there, like the black stuff. It already has like an undercoating. So these scrape marks are just from me cleaning it with this wire brush, which was probably a little bit too abrasive, but there was a bunch of caked on oil and stuff on there. So I got that all cleaned. It's all ready to go. Like I said, and I'm just gonna spray it. I did mask off the brake line just so it doesn't look all ugly, but you could probably spray that on top. I covered this a little bit. I'm not gonna be like hitting it all like crazy. I'm just gonna be doing little touch-ups and slowly work my way up. I also covered this windshield reservoir, my fender brace. So yeah, I'm not gonna be getting too in detail, like spraying it all the way in here, all the way up in here and all that, just kind of like right here, just to mainly get rid of this rust and to put something on top. And then a little bit back here, just so when water does get up, it protects this part a little bit more, because this is what gets the most abuse. Now I'm gonna be spraying it with this bed liner. This is just what I had. I got this probably like 3 years ago. I did this on my 720, if you guys remember that. I never made a video, but yeah, I bought a bunch of these not knowing how many I would need, and this one is literally brand new. I've never used it, so I figured I'd put some bed liner in here and make it a little freshen it up a little bit. While I have those drying, now I'm going to be removing these old and dry rotted bushings and putting some new energy suspension bushings. Got that sway bar all ready to go. I am going to be greasing a little bit in here and inside the shafts once I throw it on, because this is the part that connects to the control arm. This is all ready to go, pretty much greased up. I just would like to put a little bit more grease just so they don't squeak, because polyurethane bushings are notorious for squeaking. Okay, so now that this is all nice and dry, it's been drying for a little over 24 hours. Now I'm going to be throwing in the angle kit. So just as I was throwing my suspension together, my control arms just came in right now, probably like 30 minutes ago. So here they are. I'm gonna unbox them real quick. But I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday. I got everything pretty much not torn apart. I got everything put back on. Everything's still loose. This is loose. These are loose. You can see right here. Literally everything is loose, and I don't want to tighten everything because I do need the tension arms to kind of figure out where it's going to be. And then two, I need to put weight on the car, and then once the arms and everything is kind of where it's going to be, then I'm going to finally tighten them. Alright guys, so I have everything buttoned up and tightened. I didn't want to bore you guys with all that. but as you can see, it did bring out the wheel a lot. Like I'm saying, like the bottom at least. The top, I have it on max positive. I could go a little bit more positive if I took these two screws off and moved them back here to these forward or rear positions and then scoot it over more. And that'll give me more positive camber. But right now I'm just trying to show you guys that full positive on there, or somewhat, will give you this much camber, just because I always was curious, so I was like, I figured I'd put this in the video. Now I'm not going to be running this much camber, or this little camber, but in order to fill up the fender wall right now, just for the meantime while I buy some spacers, this is how I'm going to drive it. But I am going to be taking off this little slip-on spacer that I have in there. I am going to be throwing probably a 20 mil, maybe a 25 mil spacer, and then maxing out the camber. But yeah, it doesn't look that bad like this. It's a lot better looking than what it was before. So even if you guys didn't want to run that much camber, but you want the angle, you could even get like this, or you can probably even get 0 camber if you really wanted to, just by filling in this gap by maxing it out even more. But yeah, I like the negative camber, so I'm gonna go with negative camber, but I'm just mentioning this for you guys. Let me set it down, see how she looks. I want to see how much lower it got, because okay, yeah, it got quite a bit lower, because before I could see the top of the tire, so that's definitely way tighter than before. So it did lower it a little bit. I just want to mention this for those of you who are installing this and you think you're just going to install it and go. You are going to have to adjust it a little bit. So on this side, it looks like I might have to add some more negative camber because it's sitting on the tire. So I'm just gonna kind of play with it right now, but I'm gonna give it some more negative camber. I've had the angle kit on the car for about, I want to say 2 weeks now, and I'm gonna make a quick outro for this video. So I did end up maxing out the camber just because it was rubbing pretty bad. So this is max camber with Megan coilovers. If you have PBMs, you can probably get, I want to say maybe 4 degrees more of camber. So that's what's good about PBMs, but I also got these for pretty cheap. So eventually I'll upgrade to PBMs and then probably get a little bit more camber, because I will need it. For those who don't know, I ended up getting another set of Z wheels exactly like this from TJ. So thanks to him, now I can steal the rears off of that set and run them on the fronts, so that way I could have stock rears all around. So those are definitely going to poke out quite a bit because they're plus 15 and these are plus 43, so there's a big difference there. But yeah, the car did definitely drop, I want to say, 1.5 inches. I had to raise it up a tiny bit just because it was fender to lip in the front, and my downpipe was just completely dragging on flat ground, and it was super annoying, and I can't stand just hearing like scraping, especially exhaust. When exhaust scrapes, it's the most annoying sound ever. Like frame banging sounds cool, but banging your exhaust, it sounds gross. So yeah, the car is extremely dirty. I haven't really been taking care of it just because this whole quarantine thing, I don't even drive it, so it's just sitting here. I just took it for a test drive just to warm it up, and over a while now. So yeah, this is the camber. It looks like a lot, but in reality it's not. I want to say it's probably 6 or 7 degrees. And I don't like it because it matches my rear, and I want to have more in my front than my rear. But my rear, for those who know, it already hits on my quarter panel. That's how tight it is. So when I drift, you can see it's a little red right here. This curb rash is from the wheels. I didn't do that from hitting the fenders, but you see there's red from my quarter panel. So it already touches, so I can't really pull out more unless I pull my quarters, which I don't want to pull them just yet. So I don't really mind the rear camber, but I want to have more in the front, so I'll probably have to obviously fit those other wheels and then camber the crap out of them, stretch the crap out of them. So that'll be in future videos. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it and found this video useful, and there will be way more videos on this car in the near future.